The new girl was a transfer student, and she walked with a limp. When the other kids started bullying her, I was the one who stepped in to protect her. I thought she'd be grateful. I thought I was her hero. But instead, she fell for the school's biggest jerk. And just to make him happy, she did the unthinkable. The day before a final SATs, she lured me out, leading me straight into an ambush. While his thugs beat me until my mouth was full of blood, until I could barely breathe, she made a phone call. Her voice was a careful whisper. "I did what you said," she told him. "I got him out of the way. He won't be taking the exam tomorrow." A pause. "So, can we be together now?" Another, more desperate pause. "If that's not enough, I can get rid of him for good." Would that work? The last thing I felt was the weight of dirt piling on top of me. Then I opened my eyes. I was back on the day she first transferred to our school. The new transfer student walked with a limp. Her gait was uneven, but her face was delicate, almost perfect with flawless, pale skin. She stood on the stage at the front of the classroom, her hands twisting the hem of her shirt, radiating anxiety. The teacher asked her to introduce herself. She hesitated for a long moment before stuttering. "My name is Maya Evans." Instantly, whispers broke out across the room. "Looks like she's disabled." "Dude, she's a stutterer too." "Haha, look at her. Pathetic." "After class, let's have some fun. You imitate the way she talks, and I'll imitate the way she walks. It'll be hilarious." Their words were cruel. In my last life, I couldn't stand it. Overcome with pity, I stood up and told them to shut up. From that day on, I became her self-appointed bodyguard, trailing her, protecting her. But I didn't know the truth back then. She wasn't a victim. She was a Venus flytrap, beautiful on the surface, but deadly to anyone who got too close. Getting close to her had cost me everything. So this time, as I watched them zero in on her, I stayed silent. Maya heard them. Her grip on her shirt tightened, her face flushing with humiliation. Good, I thought. Feel it. Feel ashamed. I just hoped she choked on it. This time, I wasn't saving her. Our homeroom teacher cleared his throat loudly. "That's enough. Show some respect for our new classmate. A physical disability is no reason to mock someone." He scanned the room. "From now on, Maya is part of our class. Who has an empty seat next to them and is willing to share?" The room fell silent. No one raised a hand. I was one of the few with an empty desk beside me. Last time, I had eagerly volunteered. This time, I didn't say a word. I just kept my head down, pretending to be absorbed in my homework. Suddenly, a voice piped up from the back. "Teacher, who wants to sit next to a cripple?" Another kid chimed in, his voice laced with sarcasm. "What do you mean? Leo's got an empty seat. He's a great student, always willing to help out." "Right, Leo." Every head in the room turned to look at me. Maya's eyes, filled with a desperate hope, met mine. But I wasn't the same helpful Leo anymore. I leaned back in my chair and smiled, my voice slow and clear. "Nope, not interested." I looked Maya straight in the eye. "I don't want to sit next to a cripple, either. She's probably bad luck, and I'm trying to get into a good college." With no volunteers, the teacher had no choice but to put Maya in a single desk at the very back of the room, alone. This was just the beginning. From this moment on, a line was drawn between us. Our paths would never cross again. Her face was a mask of misery as she limped down the aisle. As she passed my desk, she stumbled, bumping into my arm. I couldn't tell if it was intentional or not. I recoiled dramatically, brushing off my sleeve as if she were contagious. Ugh, someone snickered. Damn, even Leo, the nicest guy in school, can't stand her. The kid who'd call me out before leaned over. "Seriously, Leo? What's with you? You've never even met her, and you're acting like she personally offended you." My eyes snapped to his, my gaze sharp enough to cut glass. "You all get to hate her, so why can't I?" I said, my voice loud enough for the whole class, and Maya to hear. Just breathing the same air as her makes me sick. Maya's face crumpled. This, I thought, was only the start. No one knew what she did to me in her last life. But in this one, I was going to make her pay. In my past life, Maya was bullied relentlessly. They messed with her during class, tripped her in the halls. And I was always there, defending her. When they threw dirty water on her, I was there with tissues to help her clean up. When they ripped up her homework, I gave her mine to copy. I thought kindness would be met with kindness. I thought I was saving her, and that she would remember it forever. I forgot that some people's hearts aren't made of flesh and blood. They're made of stone. It all came to a head the day before our final SATs. She sent me a text. Leo, I have something really important to tell you before the exam. My heart skipped a beat. I thought my devotion had finally won her over. I went to meet her, happier than I had ever been. But when I got there, it wasn't Maya waiting for me. It was a group of thugs. They had me on the ground in seconds, tying my hands with a coarse rope. They used a taser on me, beat me with a heavy leather belt. And Maya just stood there, watching me with pure contempt. You're such a nerd, she sneered. So easy to fool. Did you really think all that nice guy stuff you did would make me fall for you? It didn't. It just made me sick. She leaned in closer. Don't flatter yourself, Leo. I coughed up blood, the sound wet and ragged. Her words shattered what was left of my heart. Then she pulled out her phone and called Ethan Cole, the school's resident bad boy. Ethan, I did what you said. He's here. He won't be making it to the SATs tomorrow, she said, her voice turning sweet and subservient. So, can we be together now? She listened for a moment. If you want, I can get rid of him for good. Would that work? A cold voice crackled through the phone, loud enough for me to hear. Sure, bury the freak. Then I'm all yours. And so they did. I felt the suffocating weight of the dirt, the gradual slide into darkness, the terror clawing at my chest. It was a feeling I would never forget. All my devotion, all my kindness had earned me this. After class, as a few students were heading toward the back of the room to bother Maya, a commotion erupted in the hallway. I looked up. Through the window, I saw a guy in a leather jacket and a silver chain necklace swaggering toward our classroom, flanked by his usual crew. It was Ethan Cole, the undisputed king of Northwood High. He was arrogant, reckless, and the only student who dared to defy the dress code, talk back to teachers, and skip class whenever he felt like it. He was feared by everyone and, for some reason, adored by half the girls in school. In my last life, he was the one who ordered Maya to kill me, destroying my future, my life, everything. The moment he stepped into the classroom, the kids who had been about to bully Maya scurried over to him, practically bowing. Hey, Ethan, what brings you here? Ethan flicked open his Zippo lighter, his expression one of pure boredom. Heard you guys had a new cripple. Came to see the show. Oh, you mean Maya? Yeah, she's a realized queen. Barely says a word to anyone. The student pointed. That's her, back there in the corner. A flicker of interest crossed Ethan's face. He strode to the back of the room and delivered a vicious kick to Maya's desk. The force sent her books and water bottle crashing to the floor. Maya didn't say a word. She just knelt to pick them up. But for every book she retrieved, Ethan would casually knock it from her grasp. This went on over and over. She was shaking with rage, but Ethan just laughed. Hey, I came all this way to see you. Aren't you going to say hello? Maya kept her head down, silent. You got a lot of issues, don't you? Ethan continued, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. You're not just a cripple, you're mute, too. The classroom erupted in laughter. I said, look at me. He hooked a finger under her chin and forced her head up. The moment he saw her face, he froze. His sneer vanished, replaced by a look of genuine surprise. He studied her for a second longer. Damn, he breathed. Didn't figure the cripple would be hot. He smirked, wrapping an arm around her waist and pulling her against him. How about you be my girlfriend? His voice wasn't loud, but in the now silent room, everyone heard him. No way, Ethan. You can't be serious, one of his friends called out. You could have any girl in school. Yeah, what about me? You never even looked twice at me, and you want her? A girl whined. So what if she's a cripple? Look at that face. Ethan shot back, his eyes still on Maya. This could be fun. Maya's face was burning with shame. She shoved him away, her voice tight with anger. I'm not going to be your girlfriend. Everyone knew Ethan Cole. His family was rich, powerful. Girls threw themselves at him. No one ever turned him down. Maya might as well have just stomped on a tiger's tail. The smile vanished from Ethan's face. The atmosphere in the room turned ice cold. No one dared to breathe. Ignoring him, Maya bent down to continue picking up her books. Ethan snatched a can of soda from a nearby desk. He popped the top and slowly, deliberately, poured the entire contents over Maya's head. Oops, he said, his voice mocking. My bad. Just wanted a drink. My hand must have slipped. Sticky liquid dripped from her hair onto the floor. Maya bit her lip so hard, I was surprised it didn't bleed. Ethan laughed. Well, now the floor's dirty. Why don't you lick it clean? You? Maya finally looked up, her eyes blazing with fury. The whole class howled with laughter, egging him on. That's how you do it. Ethan put the cripple in her place. Want to make sure she licks it all up, man, one of his cronies offered. Ethan's lips were smiling, but his eyes were like chips of ice. Where's the fun in that? I'll supervise myself. He loomed over Maya. Come on, little puppy. Start licking. I don't have all day. Maya remained frozen on the floor. I'm losing my patience, he growled. He grabbed her by the hair and tried to force her head to the ground. His friends moved in to help. I had seen enough. I decided to get some fresh air. As I walked past the scene, Maya's hand shot out and grabbed my leg. Her eyes were filled with a desperate plea. Leo, help me, please. Ethan glared at me. I'd stay out of it if I were you. As if. I had a busy day. Did he really think I had time for this? Especially when the person begging for help was my own murderer. As everyone watched, I kicked her hand away from my leg. I brushed off my pants deliberately. Don't worry, I said to Ethan. I have no intention of getting involved. You guys have fun. The room erupted in a mix of gasps and whistles. The drama was escalating. I walked out but paused by the window. I watched them hold Maya down. Her face was a mask of defiance, but slowly, she stuck out her tongue and began to lick the puddle of soda from the dirty floor. Like an animal, everyone was stunned. Even Ethan looked momentarily surprised before a slow, cruel smile spread across his face. Good girl, he said. You're an obedient little pet. Maya didn't respond. When she finished, she pushed herself up from the floor. She looked Ethan straight in the eye, her expression unreadable. Are you satisfied? He looked intrigued. He reached out and tucked a stray, sticky strand of her hair behind her ear. Not bad, he said. You've got some fight in you. I like that. From now on, you're mine. After school, the classroom emptied out, but I stayed behind to study. In my last life, I was murdered before I could take my finals. It was a wound that had never healed. This time, I was going to study harder than ever and get into the college I deserved. I hadn't been working for long when an unwelcome visitor appeared. It was Maya. She was limping toward my desk. The sight of her made my stomach turn. I swept my books into my backpack and stood up to leave. Leo, she called out. I ignored her and walked out of the room, but she hurried after me and grabbed my arm. Leo, what did I do to you? She asked, her voice trembling. Why do you hate me so much? I need to know why you're treating me like this. Her question threw me. At this point in our timeline, we were practically strangers. I let out a cold laugh. Everyone else dislikes you. Why don't you go ask them? Because you're different, she insisted. You're not like them. Her voice dropped to a whisper. When Ethan came after me today, didn't you feel anything at all? Her words were pathetic. In my last life, I gave her my kindness, my loyalty, and she had me killed for it. Now that I wanted nothing to do with her, she was chasing after me. We're not friends, I said, my voice flat. You could drop dead in front of me, and I wouldn't feel a thing. I yanked my arm from her grasp and walked away without looking back. On the surface, I was calm, but inside, a disturbing thought was taking root. This version of Maya was different. She spoke to me as if she already knew me. The way she begged for my help earlier, the questions she was asking now. It was almost as if she had been reborn, too. Just like last time, my parents signed me up for a weekend SAT prep course. A lot of kids from my school were there, including Ethan, though he rarely showed up. I was hoping for a quiet place to study, but my hopes were dashed when I saw Maya walk in. She took a seat a few rows behind me, but I could feel her eyes on me the entire time. Today, the instructor announced we would be taking a diagnostic test to rearrange the seating chart. Students with similar scores would be paired up to help each other. As the test papers were passed out, I glanced back at Maya. She was staring at me with a frightening intensity. It was the same look she had in her eyes right before she had me killed. A chill went down my spine. I quickly turned back around and focused on my test. I finished quickly, and the scores were posted not long after. The instructor began reading out the new seating assignments. My name was the first one he called. Leo Carter and Maya Evans, you two will sit together. Maya is a new student, so Leo, I expect you to help her get caught up. My stomach dropped, but I forced myself to remain calm. After class, as Maya moved her things to the desk next to mine, I caught the unmistakable flicker of triumph in her eyes. Don't get too comfortable, I said quietly. I'm not coming back next week. All of this was for nothing. I leaned in closer. If I had to guess, you intentionally missed a few questions on that test, just so you'd end up sitting next to me. In my last life, Maya was a brilliant student. After transferring, she aced every exam, consistently scoring higher than me. The prep course test wasn't even that difficult. I knew she'd thrown it on purpose. I just didn't know why she was so desperate to get close to me. Her eyes widened in shock. You figured it out. I don't like you, I stated plainly. You have to see that. So I don't get why you keep chasing after me. It's disgusting. My harsh words didn't seem to faze her. I know why you hate me, she said, her voice barely a whisper. And I have a reason for doing this today. My heart began to pound. It was just as I suspected. You came back too, didn't you, Leo? She said, her eyes boring into mine. That's the only reason you would hate me this much. I played dumb. I have no idea what you're talking about. Her grip on her pen tightened. Stop pretending. You were reborn. Just like me. She took a deep breath. I'm so sorry, Leo. I never meant to hurt you. I was just listening to Ethan. He manipulated me. Her voice cracked. Can you ever refer? A loud bang interrupted her as a fist slammed down on her desk. It was Ethan. He had appeared out of nowhere and was now looming over her, a cigarette dangling from his lips. I hadn't expected the man himself to show up at a prep course, but I suspected he wasn't here for the academics. Someone must have texted him that Maya was here. His next move confirmed my theory. He grabbed Maya's face, yanking it toward him. Then he took a long drag from his cigarette and blew the smoke directly into her eyes. Didn't I tell you that you belonged to me? He snarled, his gaze flicking over to me with a look of pure venom. Who gave you permission to get so close to another guy? I immediately gathered my things. Hey man, she's the one who wanted to sit here, I said, holding up my hands. I had nothing to do with it. With that, I walked away. But I didn't leave. I hid by the door, peering back into the classroom to watch the show. Ethan was furious. He ordered one of his lackeys to bring him a pair of scissors. Then, as Maya sat frozen in her chair, he began hacking off her long hair, chunks of it falling to the floor. If there's a next time, he hissed, the scissors snapping dangerously close to her ear, it won't be just your hair. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing out loud. It was perfect. News of what happened to the prep course spread through school like wildfire. A classmate cornered me by my locker. Is it true? Is Maya really into you? He asked, his eyes wide. Dude, I'd stay away from her if I were you. She's Ethan's girl now. I heard he cut off all her hair just for talking to you. You're probably next on his list. I despised her. The last thing I wanted was to get closer to her. I didn't answer, just focused on my books. But as I saw Maya walk into the classroom out of the corner of my eye, I spoke up, my voice casual. I doubt Maya likes me. Her name hung in the air just as she reached my desk. She clearly heard me, but she said nothing, just walked to her seat. I stood up and kicked her desk hard. I looked at her butchered haircut. That looks awful, I said coolly. I tossed a cheap wig on her desk. Here, put this on. You're an eyesore. She looked stunned for a moment, then she picked up the wig. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't reply. I just turned and walked away. You want to play games? I thought. Fine, I can play too. Being reborn doesn't automatically make you the hero of the story. You still need a brain to survive the sequel. In our last life, Maya was the one constantly chasing Ethan, begging him to be with her. Back then, he couldn't have been less interested. This time, she changed her strategy. She stopped being his lapdog, and suddenly, he was the one who was interested. He started showing up at our classroom every other day, trying to get her attention. But Maya acted cold and distant, which only seemed to fuel his obsession. My birthday fell on a weekday. On my way to school, I saw Maya cornered in an alley by a group of girls. They were pulling her hair, slapping her face over and over. Through it all, Maya clutched something in her pocket, protecting it fiercely. I didn't know who had sent them, but the timing and location on my exact route to school seemed too convenient. It was as if she wanted me to see it. Whatever. Her problems weren't my problems. I wasn't going to feel sorry for her. I turned around and took the long way to school. Maya didn't show up until right before the first bell. She was wearing a face mask, but I could still see the red, swollen imprint of a hand on her cheek. Damn, someone whispered. That's what you get for messing with Ethan. Yeah, like a mask is going to hide that. Pathetic, another giggled. Maya ignored them and walked straight to my desk. She placed a small, neatly wrapped box in front of me. Leo, she said, her voice soft. This is for you. Happy birthday. Her eyes were glistening with unshed tears. I could see bruises on her neck and the backs of her hands. But the small box was pristine, without a single dent. So that's what she had been protecting in the alley. My gift. I put on a look of surprise. Wow, you remember my birthday? Thanks, Maya. I slid the box into my desk drawer. A wave of relief washed over her face, and she even managed a small smile before turning to go to her seat. What she didn't know was that after school, I took that box and threw it straight into a dumpster without even opening it. Anything from her was contaminated. The thought of keeping it, of even touching it, made me sick. Did she really think a little gift could make me forgive her? I knew her better than anyone. A poisonous flower is still poisonous, no matter how pretty it looks. The next morning, Maya was waiting for me at the classroom door, holding a coffee and a donut. She held them out to me. Leo, I got you breakfast. A faint blush colored her cheeks. I looked at the offering without an ounce of appetite. I still couldn't figure out her angle. I already ate. I lied. Oh, okay. Her shoulders slumped, and her eyes flickered down to my wrist. You're not wearing the watch I gave you. Did you not like it? So that's what it was. A watch. Oh, no, it's great, I said quickly. It just looked expensive. I was afraid I'd break it. So I left it at home. Right? She said, though she didn't look convinced. Well, do you want to walk home together after school? I was getting tired of this. Why was she so desperate to get close to me? After being reborn, shouldn't she be chasing after Ethan even harder? We don't live in the same direction, I started to say. So, before I could finish, something slammed into the back of my head. I stumbled forward, turning to see a basketball bouncing away. Ethan was jogging over, a smirk on his face. Sorry, man, he said, scooping up the ball. Hand slipped. Without thinking, I swung. My fist connected with his jaw, sending him sprawling to the ground. The hallway went silent. The all-powerful Ethan Cole, on his back, looking utterly humiliated. He scrambled to his feet, his face contorted with rage, and lunged at me. But Maya suddenly threw herself between us. Ethan, stop it, she yelled. If you want to hit someone, hit me. Leave Leo alone. One of Ethan's friends stepped forward. Maya, who do you think you're talking to? Ethan's glare was murderous. His hands were clenched into fists, his knuckles white. I braced myself for a fight, but to my surprise, he just stood there for a long moment. Then, without another word, he turned and stormed off, but not before giving Maya a strange, complicated look. The drama fizzled out, though it became the topic of whispered gossip for the rest of the day. When the final bell rang, I tried to make a quick exit, but Maya was on me like a shadow. She insisted on riding the bus with me, even though it meant adding 5 extra stops to her own commute. I couldn't shake her, so I gave up. The bus was crowded. I managed to snag a seat in the back, but Maya was stuck standing in the aisle, surrounded by people. Still, her eyes never left me, as if she was afraid I'd vanish. I was so annoyed I put in my earbuds and closed my eyes. When my stop came, I jumped off and started walking home as fast as I could. Suddenly, Maya wrapped her arms around me from behind. On pure instinct, I shoved her away. What the hell are you doing? She looked down at the ground like a guilty child, twisting her fingers together. I'm sorry, Leo. I know you don't want me near you. I followed you today because I needed to explain everything. She looked up, her eyes pleading. I know what I did in our last life left you with. Scars. But after you were gone, I regretted it so much. I had nightmares every single night. I couldn't sleep. Her voice broke. That's when I realized. You were the only one who was ever truly good to me, and you were the one I really loved. She took a hesitant step closer. So, in this life, even if you hate me, I want to do everything I can to make it right. I stared at her, genuinely surprised. You really know you were wrong? Yes, she nodded firmly. Her voice grew softer. So, can you forgive me, so we could be together? I looked into her eyes. They seemed different from last time. Softer, more sincere. Do you really love me? I asked. Or is this just about easing your guilt? Maya, are you sure you know what you feel? Of course I'm sure, she said, stepping forward again. Please, just believe me. I pretended to hesitate. I want to believe you, but look, can you just give me some time to think about it? I might have sounded conflicted, but inside I was laughing. Did she really think I was that stupid? That I was the same naive fool from our last life? She was wrong. I'd already noticed something was off. For weeks, I'd seen her sneaking off to meet Ethan almost every day. So after she left, looking hopeful, I followed her. And sure enough, she went straight to him. They met in a deserted alley behind a strip mall. I ducked behind a dumpster and watched. The second she saw him, Maya threw her arms around his waist. "Ethan, I missed you." He shoved her off violently. "Get off me, Maya. You're disgusting." His voice was laced with contempt. "You come here right after seeing Leo. What do you take me for?" Maya didn't seem angry at all. She just wrapped her arms around him again, her voice low and soothing. "Ethan, don't be mad. I told you before, it's all an act. None of it is real." She leaned in. "Just wait a little longer. Soon, we'll be together, and it'll all be over." She sealed her promise with a passionate kiss. "You have to believe me, Ethan. You're the only one I love. As soon as I take care of business, I'm all yours." Watching them made me want to throw up. I couldn't believe I'd ever fallen for such a vile, manipulative person. But seeing this confirmed everything I suspected. Every word she'd said to me was a lie. All her acts of kindness were a sham. When I first started pushing her away, she must have realized I was reborn too. She was only getting close to me because she was afraid I'd expose her. So she created this whole elaborate act, pretending to be distant from Ethan, getting her friends to stage a beating, all to make me feel sorry for her, to make me lower my guard. Her goal was to get close enough to eliminate me for good, so she and Ethan could live happily ever after. She was so sure I'd fall for it. Too bad for her, I wasn't an idiot this time. My attention snapped back to the alley. Ethan pulled a photo from his pocket, his expression one of pure disgust. "This guy," he said, "is a total nerd. My parents are always comparing me to him. I want you to get close to him, and then I want you to teach him a lesson for me." Maya took the photo, her eyes fixed on it. I couldn't see the picture, but from the sound of it, the target wasn't me this time. Maya was silent for a long moment. Ethan grabbed her chin, his voice turning cold. "What's wrong? Does he remind you of Leo?" He squeezed harder. "If you don't do this for me, we're done." "No, it's not that," she said quickly. She took a small craft knife from her bag and dragged it across her forearm, creating several shallow cuts. Blood welled up instantly, but her face remained impassive, her eyes locked on Ethan's. "Ethan," she said, her voice steady, "I will only ever love you. I would do anything for you. I was just thinking about the best way to handle him." The next day after class, I saw Maya heading toward the sophomore hallway. I followed her and watched as she approached Ryan Miller, the sophomore class president. She was showing him the cuts on her arm, her face a perfect picture of damsel in distress. I didn't need to hear the words to know her plan. Play the victim, win his sympathy, then lure him into a trap. It was the exact same playbook she'd used on me. I clenched my fists. As soon as Maya left, I went straight to Ryan and told him everything I'd seen the day before. He was shocked. "She just asked me to help her with some homework," he said, his face pale. "She suggested meeting at a coffee shop after school. I felt sorry for her, so I agreed." I can't believe. His expression was identical to mine on the day I walked into her trap. "You can't judge a book by its cover," I told him. "Sometimes the most beautiful flowers are the most poisonous." Ryan believed me. Together, we came up with a plan. After school, I followed Maya and Ryan from a distance. She led him to a run-down, isolated cafe on the outskirts of town. She was being careful, choosing a place with no witnesses. I waited. Before long, a group of thugs carrying bats and a small bag of white powder went inside. The moment they were through the door, I called 911. The police arrived within minutes, catching them in the act and saving Ryan. The thugs were arrested, but Maya managed to slip away in the chaos. Her hired help was loyal. They didn't rat her out. She was smart. I had to give her that. My plan hadn't completely worked, and now she would be on high alert. For now, all I could do was pretend I knew nothing and continue playing her game. Ryan ended up transferring schools. Before he left, he found me. "You were right, Leo," he said, shaking my hand. "Looks can be deceiving. I never would have guessed someone who seems so fragile could be so vicious. You saved me." I clapped him on the shoulder. "Don't worry, man. I'll be careful, and I'll make sure people like her get what they deserve." After final exams, neither she nor Ethan would get away. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into my studies. On the surface, I continued the charade with Maya. After the incident with Ryan, she was more cautious, not daring to make any sudden moves. She did However, start meeting with Ethan more frequently. I followed her several times, documenting their secret meetings with my phone, capturing every incriminating photo and video I could. On the last mock exam before finals, I scored first place. Maya's grades, on the other hand, had plummeted. She came to my desk while I was reviewing my test, a bright smile on her face. "Leo, I knew you'd do great. I hope you get into your dream school." I glanced at the fresh hickey, poorly hidden on her collarbone, and smiled back. "Thanks. Then we can finally be together, out in the open." She squeezed my hand. "Exactly." I didn't say anything else, just looked down at my book to hide the urge to recoil from her touch. Her words did, however, serve as a reminder. In my last life, Ethan's jealousy over my grades was what motivated him to have me killed. He couldn't stand the thought of me getting into a better college than him. I knew Maya would try something again, but this time it wouldn't be the day before the exams. She knew I was reborn. She knew I'd be expecting it. I had to be ready. That afternoon, I slipped into the faculty office. The English teacher was preparing a presentation for a special open class the next day. Because I was a top student, she'd given me the password to her computer last year to access study materials. A favor from a past life that would serve my revenge in this one. I swapped her presentation video file with the one I had compiled of Maya and Ethan. This way, the switch would be untraceable back to me. Tomorrow's open class was a big deal. The principal and several school board members would be there. When I saw that video, Maya and Ethan would be finished. It wouldn't solve the problem permanently, but it would cause enough chaos to keep them off my back through final exams. And once exams were over, everything would change. The next day, just as I planned, the video played on the large screen at the front of the class. It showed everything. Maya and Ethan's secret meetings, their plotting, their kisses. A collective gasp went through the room. The faces of the teachers and administrators turned from confused to furious. Maya's face went completely white. "Shut it off," the principal yelled. Somebody shut off the projector. Maya and Ethan were suspended, and their parents were called in for an emergency meeting. They became infamous overnight, the school's #1 cautionary tale and the focus of intense faculty scrutiny. To prevent any further incidents, the school mandated that their parents had to personally drop them off and pick them up every day. I was satisfied with the outcome. It gave me the space I needed to focus. During a break a few days later, Maya approached me, her face etched with shame. "I'm sorry, Leo," she whispered. "Please, you have to believe me. He forced me to do all of that. Please don't hate me. You're still the only one I care about." She was a masterful liar. The performance was flawless. I put on my most understanding smile. "I believe you," I said gently. "I would never hate you over something like this. We just need to focus on getting into a good college so we can have a future together." A visible wave of relief washed over her. "Oh good, just wait, Maya," I thought. "The best is yet to come." On the morning of our first final exam, Maya limped over to wish me luck. "Leo, I hope you crush it," she said, her eyes shining with what looked like genuine sincerity. It was the same deceptive mask she wore in our last life. I smiled back. "You too, Maya." She gave me a quick, tight hug before turning and walking away. I watched her go, a cold smirk playing on my lips. She must be so confident right now, so sure that I had fallen for her act once again. Sure enough, that night after the last exam was over, my phone buzzed with a text from her. "Leo, let's go out. We should celebrate being done with school forever." She was making her move. Perfect. So was I. The address she sent me was for a grimy, dimly lit bar on the edge of town. It was exactly the kind of place you'd go if you didn't want to be seen. The moment I walked in, Maya linked her arm through mine. "I've never been to a bar before," she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. "Now that we're done with exams, I wanted to try it. But I was scared to come alone, so I asked you to protect me." Her smile was dazzling. If I didn't know her true nature, I would have been completely fooled. We sat down in a booth, and she eagerly ordered me a cocktail. Under the dim, colored lights, the bartender mixed a vibrant, multi-layered drink and slid it over to me. "To you, Leo," Maya said, raising her own glass. "Thank you for always believing in me." Just as she was about to drink, she froze, her eyes fixed on something across the room. I followed her gaze. There at the bar was Ethan. He had his arm wrapped around a stunning, scantily clad woman, laughing as he whispered something in her ear. Maya's eyes widened in disbelief. It was clear this was not part of her plan. She had no idea he would be here, let alone with another girl. Of course she didn't know, because I was the one who texted him. I'd used an anonymous number to tell him that Maya was cheating on him, that she was at this very bar with another guy. I told him every "I love you" she'd ever said to him was a lie. Ethan, for all his bravado, was impulsive and insecure. A few simple texts were all it took to make him lose control. Bringing another woman here was his petty way of getting even. It was a shame, really. If Maya had just been honest with him about her plan to get rid of me, none of this would be happening. But her need for secrecy was her downfall. I stood up, gently brushing a strand of hair from Maya's frozen face. "What's wrong?" I asked, my voice full of concern. As I leaned over, my other hand swapped her drink with mine. When I sat back down, I slid her original glass, the one intended for me, right in front of her. She was so dazed she didn't even notice. "It's nothing. Nothing," she stammered, forcing a smile. "Let's just drink." "Okay," I said cheerfully. I downed my drink in one gulp, then watched as she drained hers, the one containing the drug. "Maya," I asked suddenly, "why do you like me so much?" She blinked, looking confused. "Because you're a good person. You were the only one who didn't hate me. You saved me." As she finished speaking, she started to sway, her hands gripping the edge of the table to steady herself. I feigned concern. "Are you drunk?" A flicker of realization, of pure horror, crossed her face. "You." Before she could say another word, I pulled her into a hug, whispering into her ear, "Maya, you're so naive. Did you really think I'd fall into the same trap twice?" Her body went limp against mine. The last thing I saw in her eyes before she passed out was pure, unadulterated hatred. After she lost consciousness, I flagged down a sleazy-looking older man at the bar, telling him my friend had a little too much to drink and needed a ride home. His eyes lit up at the sight of the helpless girl. He eagerly agreed. I pretended to order another drink, but I followed him out. I watched him carry Maya across the street to a cheap motel, snapping a few photos with my phone. I waited 30 minutes, then sent the pictures to Ethan. Less than a minute later, I saw him storm out of the bar. Only then did I call the police. When the cops arrived, I stood outside the bar, playing the part of the worried friend, and gave my statement. A short while later, I saw paramedics carrying 3 people out of the motel on stretchers. Ethan and the older man were covered in blood, unconscious. Maya was awake, her eyes wide and vacant as she stared at the night sky. When she saw me, she started screaming. It was him. He did this to me. I put my head in my hands, my voice choked with fake sobs. I'm so sorry. I never thought this would happen to you. In the end, Maya was the only survivor. Ethan and the other man were dead. Apparently, when Ethan had burst into the motel room, he'd lost his mind. He grabbed a pair of scissors from a nightstand and stabbed the man, who had managed to stab him back in the struggle. They both bled out on the motel room floor. The police investigation revealed that Maya had purchased the drug herself, intending to use it on me. The bar's security footage was grainy, but it clearly showed Maya handing me the drink, and our subsequent swap looked like an innocent accident. My embrace as she passed out was interpreted as me trying to help her. The investigation also uncovered something else. This wasn't the first time Maya had bought that drug. They linked her to several other cases where students had been assaulted and blackmailed into silence. They even solved a cold case. Another girl, a high school dropout, and an orphan who had been buried alive. No one had reported her missing. It's unbelievable, the detective told me, shaking his head. To think someone so young could be so evil. I wasn't surprised. It explained her methods with me. She was just repeating what had worked before. That girl's death was on her hands, too. She was going to hell. Maya was sentenced to death. The war that had spanned 2 lifetimes was finally over. I got in my dream college. On the first day of orientation, our advisor had us introduce ourselves and say one thing to our past selves. When it was my turn, I stood up and looked out at the sea of new faces. For a second, my past life flashed before my eyes. I cleared my throat. Hi, everyone. My name is Leo Carter. And to the person I used to be, I'd say this. From the ashes of a broken life, I built someone new. I found my strength in the wreckage and learned to rise.